people that are up there to be able to change the course that we're currently on. And part of that is being able to sit down at dinner with the Democrat or Republican that is against you, being able to run a business where all your employees aren't going to agree with every decision that you make, but that you make a decision and being able to create a culture that they follow you in and you're successful at. That's what's needed in DC.
I interviewed Newt Gingrich a couple days ago, and he reminded me of the last shutdown, and he said he talked to President Clinton every day before the shutdown, during the shutdown, and afterwards. And that's just not happening now, and that's a problem. That's a problem. You ought to be able to sit down and talk. Okay, I'm really impressed with this next question because they actually got the name right of the Georgia Ethics Commission, which has been changed. And here's the question. The Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission, previously known as the Georgia Ethics Commission, has been neutered, and changing the name so that it's longer and difficult to remember does not make it more stringent in keeping the Georgia legislators and the constitutional officers from doing unethical things. Transparent activities, we talked about that a lot. The GGT and CFC, is that right? Did I get that right? Does not need to be appointed by the executive branch. What do you think about that? How do you police yourselves? How do you police yourselves with an ethics commission? Who is the right group of people to appoint a commission that we'll call the Ethics Commission? And we'll start with you, Bruce.
It's a sad state in America when we're even having this discussion. That's the first thing we talk about. We're spending time on trying to figure out how to police each other and whether or not you're going to be ethical and behave appropriately versus spending time on what really needs to be done, which is creating jobs and education and so on. I'm not sure what the right way to do it is, but clearly I can say this. When you appoint someone that's going to be held, that's then going to hold you accountable, I think you've got a slippery slope that's going on. It's almost in the financial business, in the insurance business, you've got to have an arm's length transaction to avoid that. The preponderance that someone would actually appoint a panel that then holds them accountable then is, in essence, held back accountable because that's how you're appointed. You know what's going to happen. There is no transparency. So I'm not really sure the true answer what that is. I certainly think we need to change it, though.
Matt?
Well, the first part, I really agree with the fact that this question is being asked is a testament to what's going on with who we are electing. First, it starts with your conviction. If you're not a person that can stand for your own morals, then you're not the right person for the job. Second, I don't think it needs to be appointed by the executive committee. I think it needs to not have anything to do with the legislation itself. It needs to be a separate, completely separate. And for people to think that, and even myself, changing the name dissolutes it, it just shows that there's no cooperation, there's nothing going the right way. So, why did it have to be changed from just ethics? I don't know. But the fact is that you can't have someone appointed watching the person that appointed you.
Well, and just to follow up, the reason why we got into this discussion is because on the state level, federal is a whole different thing, but on the state level is that Speaker Ralston took a trip to Europe that cost $17,000. But he took it in November, he disclosed it that next January. It was within 2 months it was disclosed. The old way we had it was lobbyists could spend anything they wanted on you, but it had to be disclosed immediately. And the reason why we found out about this is because he disclosed it within 60 days. He didn't think there was anything wrong with it, he disclosed it. Chip Rogers, the former state senator from this region, said that's what he supported. He supported just having, who cares about the limits, just as long as it's disclosed immediately and totally. Some people say the gift limits are the wrong way to go because they can be worked around. $75 a day, 40 days in session, that's a lot of money. Okay, so for each lobbyist, that's a lot of money. You still have members trolling the halls for Georgia tickets. Okay, I've seen that myself. Where they want to get Georgia tickets. They want to sit in the box. They want to do all that kind of stuff, and they think that their connections will get there. So when we talk about transparency, just as a follow-up, and I favor what the legislature did, but should it be just let's just be completely transparent and not try to put limits on things. And just a quick answer, and we'll start with you, Matt.
Well, I agree with the transparency part, other than whether it's a limit or not. You know, I think there's too many loopholes when you put the limit on there. Like you said, you know, whether it's $75 for 40 days, it's still a lot of money. To me, in a perfect world, what I would say is there wouldn't be allowed any, period. You know, whether it's a Georgia ticket, I mean, that's not why you serve. You don't serve to take money. You don't serve, this isn't about money. This is about a civic duty. This is about getting the district that you live in, that you love, that you care about, on the right track, and staying on a good track. The humility needs to come back to the state senate, to government. You need to be more humble. You need to be more about why, you know, if every day was a campaign trail and the scrutiny was on them every day, just like it is on a campaign trail, I feel like it'd be a lot better, but that's not the right person. You can't have eyes on 100%. So I agree with 100% disclosure. And if people are trying to take Georgia tickets, and you obviously have the wrong person in the office.
Bruce?
I'm not sure if he said the wrong person because they're a Georgia Tech fan, but I know what he meant, and he's right. The reality of it is this. We get what we get in office because that's what we allow, okay? Now, I know we have media in the room and media friends in the room and so on, and some of which will hear this and so on. The fact that we have elected officials, some of which, they're not all bad, okay? Let's state that. There are men and women that go down and intend on serving with a heart, with passion, with a servant heart, okay? As I've said before, a heart. And they get down there and they're under such intense scrutiny for one issue that what happens is, I mean, Matt and I can attest to this going through this campaign trail, that you're under so much pressure, there are a lot of good people just won't run, okay? So I'm not saying that you don't hold people accountable, but at the same time, when we have people that want to go and they want to run, but yet they've got to raise money because they're constantly having to campaign because a one-issue situation, they're under attack, they're under attack, they're under attack, and people are aligning, and lobbyist groups are aligning, and certain individuals and groups try and pick their candidate and so on. That's not representation of people. It really isn't. We need transparency, as we just talked about. Would I be a fan of, I think, limiting it totally or leaving it wide open? I'm not really sure. The whole thing's broken, to be honest with you. What we do is we circumvent it with little steps, which then what happens, we have an end around, we have a workaround, as we talk in our software business. If it doesn't work, instead of fixing it, there's a workaround. And that's all that winds up happening.
Thank you. One more Common Core question, and this is really just a yes or no, and this is from the audience. It says, let's be honest, one size fits all means that nobody gets an exact fit. Do you agree with this statement, statement of not customizing education to the needs of our children? We'll start with you, Bruce.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, let's be honest. One size fits all means that nobody gets an exact fit. Do you agree with this statement? And you know, how do you customize to children?
The great thing about America is one size does not fit all. If we want to do that, then let's go to oh, that's right, we're headed that direction. Let's not go to a socialist or communist type country. The great thing about America is that we have the freedoms that if you work hard, the American dream, which I'm a product of, I grew up with very little means, had an opportunity, worked hard, and attained something. When we all of a sudden do a distribution of wealth, whether that's education, income, whatever that is, you take away the incentive for these young people to work hard. I mean, let's cut to the chase. The reality is when you take an incentive away for people, most people then will not do it. So I don't think one size fits all. You know what? If our Common Core comes in and it has certain standards in there that is a one size fits all, is that what we really want as Americans? I think not.
Thank you. Matt?
You know, the situation I really dislike the most is when you go buy a hat that says one size fits all and put it on and it never works. And that's that's how this Common Core thing is. You know, we have to get to where education is a competitive nature. You know, why did we take that out of the ring? Why is education a competitive nature in every country but us? Why are we looking for, you know, programs like, and we all, I hope, disagree with the No Child Left Behind, with the it just, we have to get away from that. We have to get to where education is a big parental push, a big support to the teachers so that they can get in and really get to the meat of the classroom and get away from trying to figure out if they're going to be assessed wrong because of different factors. So it's a localization, but the answer is one size definitely does not fit all.
Okay. If elected, what will be the substance of the first bill you intend to introduce? We'll start with you, Matt.
My first bill? I really don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things I want to champion right now. A lot of that's on the transportation side, education side, economic, tax. There's a lot of things I want to do. So right now, I honestly don't know what the first one will be, but I know that the first one, and all of them will be, there's going to be a set standard of how I'm going to do it. You know, you write it, you make sure that you write it and you make sure that it fits my own beliefs to where I can go to bed at night, and then let it go to people that you trust and you know that are experts at that more so than yourself, and are more involved on it on a daily basis, to help you with that decision. You know, even though education is a passion of mine, I never was a teacher. So I'm not going to be the one that solely relies on my expertise in that. I'm going to go to people that are the experts and on the local level, and find out what it is that, you know, this issue needs to be taken care of, but there's a ground root problem of that. You know, it's not just the issue of the law that matters, it's what is the sole function of it, and can it fix multiple things at a ground level. So that's my answer for that.
Bruce.
That's an interesting question. What is the first bill that I would try and push through or introduce? I think the reality from my perspective is this. I don't have a single issue, I don't have a single motive. So I'm not running because I want to get a certain bill passed through. And I don't think that's what you're asking, but I think it should be stated that anyone that has a certain issue or a certain motive, there's a challenge with that. We're supposed to represent the district. Right now, we're running our hearts out to get elected. I'm not sure, other than economics, transportation, education, and some of the bipartisan bickering that's going down there, the reality of what else there is. There are plenty of legislation that's been introduced, stuck in committee, or people that refuse to take a vote and kicked it over into the next session. Some of the things that are on my heart that are sitting out there, we talked about Hinton's bill. We talked about repealing and nullifying certain things. We talked about trying to work on our tax code. All of those are on my heart, but a certain bill or a certain issue, haven't really even given it one thought, because the reality is working hard to find out if I can get the votes to get elected.
Okay, you guys submitted 24 questions, and we've gotten through those, so I appreciate that very much. We're going to take a few minutes, if you've got any more questions from the floor, before we wrap up with our closing statements. Any questions from the floor? You guys were so prolific here, I don't know if that you'll have any, but any questions from the floor? Yes?
Question from Matt Laffer.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to run for this position?
Thank you. I was going to be in my closing statement, but
That's kind of what I thought, so.
so do we want to wait for that, or?
No, go ahead, you can go ahead and answer.
To me, as a businessman, part of the red tape was one of the first things that got to me. You know, there's a sign guy that comes around, and we employ a lot of people, and he wanted to take down a banner, and it had nothing to do with business, had nothing to do with the way the company looked to the road. It was stifling, it was rude the way he did it, and you could tell that he really didn't care. And that's not how I approach the business. That's not how I approach anything in life. And why I wanted to get into this role is that the Senate is a very important position. And I believe the humility that goes with it, I have. And the ability to grow, learn, and find the right answers, I have that ability too. And the conviction to be able to be in that seat, I have. So there's not one reason why I jumped into this seat or this race. There's a lot of different ones. And I know it's going to take my whole heart and a lot of my time. And I'm ready to do that and have the energy to do that too.
Yes, back here.
I think you're in the real estate business. What do you think, is there anything that state government is doing or not doing in terms of our economy? People are still underwater, and what do you think about our housing market here in Georgia or in this metro area? Do you foresee it getting better, or is there anything that state government is doing to prevent that?
Is that for both or for just one?
Both, if possible.
Both. Let's start with you then, Bruce. We'll start with Bruce then.
Well, I guess indirectly, I am in a real estate business. I do own a home, and I do own my building, along with the bank and so on. But do I sell real estate? The answer is no. So beyond that.
But what do you think about the markets and what's happening with the real estate markets?
As far
And
as
if there's a
values?
role, if there's a role for the state government to help with that.
Every time we allow the state government and federal government to intrude in our personal lives, we know what we wind up with. If they want to do something, create an opportunity where economics thrives, and it will push the values of our homes back up.
Yeah. Matt.
The answer is not what the legislation can do for property or real estate. The answer is how can we make sure we bring large companies, keep getting small businesses to flourish, letting small economic drivers within communities and within the state push higher income to come into the state. So therefore, we can go back to using houses as an investment rather than a cost-based structure. So too many people today look at their house as an expense and not as an investment. So the answer to that is, are you looking at your budget as my house is $800 a month, so now I get to go take this to buy groceries? Or are we being able to have an economic development within our community first, within our towns, for small businesses to thrive, create a stepping stone for the employees and for themselves to grow the business and to jump to larger companies and bigger companies, so that as they grow with the house grows with them. And that way, too many people get the better job, but because they're afraid of the economic structure, they're not willing to grow with their house and say, okay, I'm ready to retire at 67 years old, and I'm going to sell my house, get 20% of a profit, use that, get to a smaller house, and open it up for next generation behind me that's growing their family. So the cycle's broken, and the only way we're going to get that cycle back is through being able to transition education, economic development, transportation, taxes, all of them together. They work together, and when we actually be able to understand that and work towards that as a goal, then you're going to see a lot of things rise, and property is just one of them.
A follow-up to that might better address what that gentleman's question back there. I'm old, so I can't quite see you, but is property taxes. That's one way to be able to help this. Is right now, with the way the economy was, there are less and less people can afford a home. And I don't think it's an entitlement to own a home, so please don't misunderstand me. But with rising property taxes, which I understand, we've got to fund things, but if we could do some way of phasing that out or reducing those, it might give the opportunity for people to then go into the market to buy, which then we know how capitalism works. It's supply and demand, which will push our values back up. So back to kind of what Matt was saying about taxes, is if we could address the property tax issue, that would be one way we could do something.
All right, and Laura, do you have a question?
I just want to say, we need jobs, though, in order to be able to own a house and then to be able to pay the taxes. The jobs is key to all the economy.
Right. All right, one more question. Yes?
jobs is not necessarily the key to the problem. I've read the MOUs for Lake Point, for Shaw, for Caterpillar. I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income. You bring 20,000 people in with a family of 5 making $40,000 a year, the infrastructure is going to cost me and other senior citizens. Fire, schools, roads, sewers. We need to think about this when we're talking about jobs, and they need to be good jobs. They need to be jobs that they're going to pay taxes also, as well as me. I'm so passionate about it, I can hardly get it out, because nobody's paying attention to that. Jobs, jobs, jobs is all I hear. That doesn't work. They have to be good jobs.
That's right.
If you read a memorandum of understanding, they gave away Lake Point. They gave away Bass Pro Shops. They gave away Shaw. It's ridiculous. I'm paying for it.
All right, we're going to wrap up with our closing statement, and Bruce started last time, so Matt will start and Bruce will finish.
I guess that should have been a question. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for that question. First, I want to thank everybody that's here. The ability that on a Saturday morning, you guys came in to listen to Bruce and I thought it was going to be more, but Bruce and I really shows a testament to what we really need. We need active citizens, not just active politicians. We need active constituents. We need knowledge. Knowledge is really, in my opinion, what's going to fix a lot of these problems. The more people know, the more they're going to get engaged. The more that they're engaged, the more questions they're going to ask. The more questions that you ask, the better the next question is going to be. The answer is sometimes irrelevant as long as you can always ask a better question, and the better question is going to get the transparency that we need. So, to me, you know, having this forum in the morning just shows how dedicated Cherokee County is to understanding who we are as individuals and how we're going to handle different policies, different philosophies, and situations. But I think this was a very good forum. I think that appreciate the true nature of Bruce and I. It's not a negative attacking forum. No, it was strictly to the point. It was able to be easily accessible for everybody to know and make a decision whether you've made one or not. And I really appreciate the more questions coming from the audience and the questions that were staged for the moderator. We need more of that, so you know it's our job to go out there and get the knowledge out there, but it's also individuals and constituents' responsibility to spread the word. Whether you agree with us or not, the reality is that we all need to spread the word and let our other fellow people know that a vote is very, very important, and we got to get away from the fact that almost 70,000 people are not registered to vote. And of the registered voters, 25% voted last time. That's scary. So it's a small group that makes the decision for many, and we need to have more of participation. We have too many veterans that fight for such an important right that it kills to see people not take advantage of that. And I really appreciate you guys being here and listening, and thanks for the support and coming.
I would echo what Matt said, first of all, by thanking everyone for getting up and participating today. Martha, thank you for coming over. I'm sure you had to come across 20 or unless you went down, so you've experienced what we talked about today for the GOP and others that put this together, Lori and Rick. What I'd like to say is this. This was not a sprint for me. I started in this race prior to Barry resigning. It was a decision I'd make. I'm a calculated person that makes decisions. Maybe it's my military background. Maybe it's my opportunity that I've learned as an entrepreneur. Maybe it's the chamber. I don't know what it is, but I think our motives come from our heart. So it's important for you to understand that this was always going to be a long race. At the end of the day, the voters will make the decision on who they want to represent them. The one thing that I ask people to do is this. First, look at the candidates and find out who first most closely align with your values. Second, look at the candidates and which one is most experienced to address your concerns. I believe I'm the candidate that can do that. I may not align with all of your value systems. I am a very strong conservative. I am pro-life. I am a born-again Christian, very involved in the church and giving back to the community. Maybe that doesn't align with your values. So go to the second one. I am an experienced businessman. I haven't just served on boards, I have been the chairman of these boards. Some of the same boards Matt's had the opportunity to serve on as well. The Etowah Scholarship Foundations, the Chamber. I'm the outgoing personnel chairman of First Baptist Cartersville. I have the experience. I'm at a point in my life, I'm 48 years old. A point in my life where my economic situation allows me to be able to go down and serve effectively without being influenced by revenue or decisions. That being said, I'd like to ask people to get out and vote. Starts in just a few days, and November 5th, make your decision of the candidates that are left, whether or not I'm not the one that will be elected to properly represent you. And again, thank you and be safe today.